The worst thing just happened in my Minecraft world. I finished a project. But wait, why is that such a bad thing? That almost never happens. The problem is, it's put me in this position where I'm kind of lost on what my next step in this world should even be. There's farms to build, terraforming to be done, and a lot of new styles I could build in, but none of it's really inspiring me. This is a problem I've been scared of, and if I'm not able to solve it soon, it might just mean the death of this world. It's been about a month since that intro, but I think I might have just figured something out. I've been going back and forth on what project I want to do next, and I finally landed on a villager trading hall. Villager trading halls are extremely overpowered, and I've never really made use of one, so I think it's going to be cool. Plus, with the food shortage going on in my world right now, it's definitely going to be vital for the long term. Problem was, I still had no idea what build style I wanted to do. I considered doing something more modern or even like futuristic, but to be honest, nothing was really inspiring me. That was until the start of this year when I took a trip to Europe for the first time, traveling through the Alps and the Mediterranean. The architecture throughout these regions was so unique and honestly inspiring, especially these really colorful cities along the coast of Italy. When I got home, I realized a city like this would be the perfect addition to our island and would make a honestly pretty great villager trading hall. I think the first step for this project is making it a little easier to get to and from this project and back to my storage room. I want to connect up the two main areas of my world with nether portals, the medieval district where my storage room is and my castle, and my Mediterranean district where this new project is, as well as like my lighthouse and my starter village and all that stuff. But seeing as I'm going back and forth a lot, I think it's important to make it as fast as possible. We got it done. We can now enter our lighthouse, go through the nether portal, then travel down this very tall and skinny hallway, turn a corner, and right over here is another portal that spits us out right at our storage room, much faster than flying the distance. In terms of starting the actual project, I think I want to put it along the coast, like over here, sort of. One thing I did notice about these Italian towns is that they were often on these really sharp cliffs, which I already sort of did over here. I'd actually like to carry that all the way around, which is a really big project on its own, to be honest. And it's going to involve making this side of the cliff much sharper, but I think it'll hopefully be worth it. So I want to bring the water all the way back to this line here where we're going to have sort of a retaining wall. It'll really help this area feel more man-made and lived in, I think. I hope. Hopefully my vision comes through. This might actually be more digging than I'm expecting though. We'll find out. I picture this area as a lot more wealthy, so I think I'm going to turn this into a harbor with docks where we can put stuff like sailboats and more expensive things like that. Especially since we're on an island, I think boats will really add a lot to this world, and it's something I want to get better at building because they are hard to build. We're going to have to worry about that later in the episode for sure. We have successfully carved away our harbor, and I want to work out what kind of retaining wall I want to put up here. I want it to be about this tall, I think. Let's try a design here. Let's try inverting back and forth between these two blocks. I think something like that could work really nice for the look I'm going for, as well as some slabs on top. Am I gonna have enough mud to finish this? Definitely not, but we'll make a start. That mud was enough to get about a third of the wall done. However, we have a lot more to go. And as you can see, I'm sort of just bringing the terrain down to this wall here where we're eventually going to have a stone pathway running alongside it. I think it's going to look really cool and contrast pretty nice. In order to have enough room to run a road against this harbor, I had to clear out this whole big cliff here, which was alright, because then we could move right on to building this stone road. And it matches a lot of the roads I actually saw in Italy quite a bit. From there, I just made the cliff a little bit nicer with a deep slate retaining wall, and I think it turned out pretty good. Here's how it turned out. Obviously, this is super bare bones, and that's on purpose. It gives us a nice idea of what this layout is gonna look like. Obviously, this needs a ton of detail. We need to texture both the ground, the actual barrier against the wall, as well as this thing. But with a project this big, we really gotta start out simple and then add details later on. I think something cool for this harbor area would be installing some lower down docks made out of spruce wood as a place to eventually park some sailboats and other kinds of boats. I think it'd be a pretty cool detail to add later on, so I want to work on this now. Let's see how it turns out. The docks are now done. I have at least a basic layout for what they're going to look like, and I think this adds a lot to the area. Makes it look pretty cool. I'm ready to turn my focus towards the actual city itself. And while I wanted to do most of the designing actually in the survival world, I did take some time in creative to use Axiom to at least figure out the shapes of the buildings as well as the roads. That's kind of the big stuff that's pretty annoying to have to redo over and over again. So I think planning it in creative beforehand is really going to save us some time. The roads were super easy to recreate. I obviously have a ton of stone in this world. However, I don't have as much terracotta, so I'm just collecting some real quick. I'm using 7 or 8 different colors for these buildings, and I need a lot of terracotta to build all of them. Here it is. We have most of the city planned out now, at least. And what I've come to realize is when I'm building like this, where I'm just not worrying about details at all, it is so much faster. And it's pretty enjoyable. But of course, now we've got to get to the detail phase, which means we have a lot more work to go. One thing, of course, is all the roofs. I want to make all of them out of brick, which is kind of a problem because brick really sucks to get. Which leads me on to the reason I even made this village. For a villager trading hall, we can actually get some villagers to trade us bricks, which would be perfect. Over at spawn here, if I remember correctly, I have a villager breeder just over here. Yeah, so if we grab a couple villagers from this and build a new one over by our city, I think there should be plenty. Yeah, there's a ton in here. We can grab some villagers to trade us bricks, some villagers to trade us golden carrots, and some villagers that we can give iron to for emeralds, because if there's one thing I have a lot of, it's iron. What we can do is grab a villager, throw him in a boat, while our brand new villager breeder starts working, I'm going to look around and try to figure out which house I want to use for our mason villagers. I'm thinking this yellow one is a good candidate, but we do need to separate this into a couple floors at least, because right now it's sort of in the side of a cliff. We're going to have a small staircase running up the side here where we can access the second level. This layout is sort of confusing, but we've got level 1 and then a little level 2 up here, as well as an even smaller level 3 up here. This should be enough room for a good amount of villagers, though. I'm trying to include some splotches of variation of the color. I'm not sure how this is gonna look. I think this might look alright. We'll see in the long run if I end up even keeping that. When walking through the real life cities, one thing I noticed about every house was these green shutters. Literally every single building had them. Apparently back in the day, people used to think something in green paint kept bugs away, which is why it kind of became the standard for the area. And if I want to try to recreate that, I kind of have 2 options. Either we could go the warped wood option, which is kind of green, or what I'm planning on doing is taking this like 3rd stage of copper, which actually looks pretty green. It's not perfect, but it's definitely the closest thing we have to like a green metal in the game right now. We could try to craft it and wait for it to oxidize, but I'm impatient and would rather try to find one of my old trial chambers I've been to. out and try to loot it for all the copper trapdoors it has. There is another one I think I did on camera back in episode 2. It's just over here past our skeleton grinder. I think it should have a good amount of trapdoors down there. We'll find out. Yeah, this cave. I remember this place. And then I dug into this wall and here it is. Do we see any trapdoors? We're just gonna ignore the mobs, to be honest. Here's a trapdoor. There's just one. So far, I've only found one in this entire place. Okay, this plan was a total failure. There's not a single trapdoor in this entire thing. That means we have to resort to plan B, which is just mining the copper by hand. Wait, is this a... Hold on. This might be a copper vein right here. The granite and all this copper. It seems like it is. Oh, it totally is. Let's go. Hold up. I see sunlight. We are back at the surface. Nice. Let's head back over to our base so that we can make use of our good old super smelter. Let's make sure it still works. It does. Nice. Now, I forget how expensive these trapdoors are. It's just like this, isn't it? Okay, that's not terrible, I guess. Thankfully, we have a nice little fireplace we can wait up here with our dog. I'm really happy with this base. It's really nice. And I plan on staying here for a while longer, at least until I outgrow it, inevitably. There's no rush, though. There's plenty of other projects I want to work on. We got to let it all oxidize, but that's not bad at all. Let's lay this all out. They are already beginning to oxidize. For some reason, this one oxidized crazy fast. That's nice. I think, though, that color is going to look really good once the rest of these oxidize, which is going to take forever. But let's try to work out our design for this room here. I want to start by adding a trim to the wall here using these beehives. I think this will look pretty cool. I had the perfect amount, actually, which was pretty cool. Yeah, that already improves things a lot. So let's go ahead and work on the counter spaces for our stonecutter, where our mason villagers are actually going to be standing. I think it'll be something pretty simple like this, where of course we need to hide their tables somewhere. I'll just try sticking them in the walls. A random detail that I thought would be kind of cool would be a fish tank in the wall. I will need to get some fish to put in there though, but that should be pretty cool. I'm gonna install some big murals on the wall here as well. And then the most important detail is adding some pots. Because of course these are mason villagers and this is the kind of stuff they'd be doing. Yep, there we go. I think I hear a wandering trader outside which may have exactly... Where is he? There he is. He might possibly have exactly what I need. Kind of. I was looking for more of a tropical fish, but I guess we could take a puffer fish for our little aquarium. There we go. We got our puffer fish in place. I just realized how annoying it's going to be to try to get up the stairs every single time. This guy's going to poison us, but it's all right. He's probably going to die anyways. We'll add some plants to some of our pots up here. And I'm not the best at interiors, but I think this room turned out pretty good. I'll put up the doorway, kind of. And I think this area should be ready for villagers to move into. I mean, it seems like there is a little... Yeah, I still need to put the ceiling in. There's water dripping in. However, I feel like this is a really nice and somewhat more humane... Get out of here. Hopefully a creeper doesn't walk in. What I was trying to say, though, is this is a little bit more of a humane way to store the villagers. I think I'm just going to leave them in mine carts, and they should be fine, I think. But we've got a little aquarium with this guy who's a little annoying. And then we have similar setups on this level... And even the top level up here. We do need to get that roof done pretty soon. Hold on. If that's thunder, maybe my brown mushrooms. I put this lightning rod here hoping that lightning would strike these guys and turn them brown, because I've never had those in survival before. The lightning rod is like lit up like it is ready to fire, but I don't know if it will. That beacon looks so sick in the rain. Wow. Oh, it happened. There they are. They did pop out of the boat, but... We have brown mushrooms for the first time. These are so cool. We'll have to do something cool with these pretty soon. Hey, there's a rainbow. Also, a lot of my copper oxidized, which is even better. In order to install the windows, we first need to find some squid. Here's a squid, because I need black dye. Sorry, buddy. First up, I'm going to make a ton of black glass like that. Turn a lot of it into glass panes. Fill in all these windows. Then we're going to take our honeycomb and wax a lot of these trapdoors. But let's try putting in all of these trapdoors and see how it turns out. I know how it turns out. I tried it already in creative. But one thing I did want to try is adding some pale wood details, like the door being the white wood. Can't forget about the back door either. And then we're even going to try a little white trim using the signs. Of course, when you back up, you won't be able to see it anymore. But close up, I think it's a cool detail. Maybe. We'll find out. Oh yeah, that's definitely cool. I need more, but that's cool. I like that. That adds a lot, actually. It really breaks up the floors a good amount, which is something pretty important to these types of builds. Now, in order to get the roof on, we need to get those brick villagers up and running. I think, hopefully, if we check the villager breeder, which is conveniently right next door, it's almost like I planned it that way. there are a good amount of villagers in here. And those villagers have somehow got to end up in each of their little pods in our little masonry tower here. Let's try to set ourselves up a minecart track here leading into the house coming from the villager breeder. Let's go ahead and test this out and grab a villager. See if he'll go all the way into our little storage unit for him. There we go. And right into here. Oh, okay. He did take the job. That's good. And he's trading bricks. Perfect. Okay, I think they can stay in the minecarts. Probably. Yep, he's restocking and everything. We are good. Let's keep this going. Villager number 2 popped right into place. We got the first 5 villagers here in place. Let's see how fast we can trade for some bricks. And hold on, this gives me a ton of XP too. That's also super nice. And now, yep, I can even trade stone to them for emeralds, which I have plenty of. And now they've even started trading me terracotta. That's actually pretty nice. And dripstone. Ooh, that's kind of nice as well. I didn't even know they traded that. And now they trade me quartz, which is also so nice. These villagers are awesome. I don't know why I've never had villagers in a Minecraft world. It always just kind of scared me too much, but this is totally worth it. And one round of trading gave me like 4 stacks of bricks, which would usually be way harder to get. Now that we have our bricks, we can actually start working on the roof. The roof sticks out quite a bit, so I'm using these levers as kind of supports for it, I guess. But it'll be something like this for sure. And I'm just doing a nice and simple slab slope going up like this. Okay. Bad news. Looks like they all got infected. I thought that zombies couldn't get in here, but here we are. Okay, I've got this lingering potion. This should work. Is this... Okay, I missed, but... That's the right potion. And there we go. They all should be... That's so loud, but they all should be curing now. I managed to finish the roof and windows for these other 2 buildings, but let's finish up the set of 3 houses by working on the exteriors, adding a little bit more detail and character to each of them. First, we've got to connect each of these to the road, which should be pretty easy. I put up a small retaining wall here, so we kind of have this area to work with here. I want to make this maybe a flower shop, I think. So I'm just going to put in some various tables and shelves and stuff like that. Then we're going to have some leaves up there, a bunch of flower pots all around. Putting all the details in place completely transformed the shop front. It added so much life to the area, and we even did the same thing for the masonry. We added a bunch of pots out front. I cannot wait to do this for the rest of the buildings, but we do have a bigger issue to worry about. I've been trading non-stop with our brick villagers in order to finally be able to put the roofs on all our houses. Getting all the roofs in place really brought this place together. I'm pretty much just winging this all. So seeing that it doesn't look too bad right now is definitely a good sign. Of course, the next step, adding all the windows, is really going to transform this area as well. Something I'm kind of nervous about doing is like these diagonal buildings. They're going to be weird to put windows in, but we're going to try anyways. In situations where it's a corner, we can just use the full glass blocks, and otherwise we'll stick to the panes. I would really like some farmer villagers for golden carrots, so I think we're going to make these 2 buildings here like a farmer's market. I think that'd be cool. I think that actually is a really good color combination. I didn't really expect that. For this green one, there really isn't green trapdoors or stairs, so I'm just going to go for something more along these lines, and we're going to make this a whole lot better. We're going to put a awning on it like this, but instead of using wool, we're going to use these blocks because they have slab and trapdoor variants, so something a little bit like this. Awnings like these were very common in that region, and I think this really adds to the build a lot, honestly. I mean, the colors match perfectly, and it makes it look a whole lot more like a food market. I'm tempted to make it even wider and cover the entire thing. Let me try that. Yep, I think I like that better. Jumping ahead a little bit, I made these 2 rooms for 6 total farmer villagers, and they now supply me loads of golden carrots. I was able to go through our town and add these little light posts to try to fix the zombie problem we've been having. While we're waiting for the shutters to keep oxidizing, I'm just gonna go around and keep adding some of the smaller details. For example, the big tower here, I think it needs a more strong foundation, so I'm putting in some tough bricks like this. It'll also add a bit more detail to it because it's kind of plain right now. Yeah, I like that. These details are starting to add life to the city, but we have a long way to go. I think a great way to liven up this area right now would be some palm trees. This is definitely a more tropical area, so I think they'd fit nicely. To build these palm trees, I'm going to need cocoa beans, which I conveniently farm right nearby. I also need a little bit of jungle wood. I also need azalea wood. I'm growing this tree and harvesting it down, pretending like I don't already have a ton of azalea leaves in this shulker box here. But how else will I have content for the video? I'm gonna use tough walls as the trunk of the tree because I actually think it kind of fits the color a little bit. That turned out really cool. It's huge for sure. Like, it's almost as tall as the buildings, but palm trees are actually kind of that big in real life, so I think it works. Let's add 3 or 4 more around here, see how it looks. I'm gonna add a bunch more later, but I think this really starts to sell the environment that I'm trying to build here. And for my first time building palm trees, I think they turned out pretty good. I think it would be cool to add like a big copper fountain in the middle of this, to have something here other than this big grass plain, although it doesn't look too bad. I mean, anything other than this grass plain would probably look better, and I think if we make it in this green color, it'd match pretty well. Let me see if I actually have any copper, though. Looks like I collected a ton of copper from trial chambers, so we do not have a problem at all. Okay, let's figure this thing out. I think we'll put it, like, here, kind of. I really have no idea what I'm doing right now, but I'm just trying some random stuff and seeing if it works. This seems like a good height, but obviously it needs a lot more work. Here's how it turned out, and I've made a lot of fountains in my time. I think this might be my favorite one. I just really like the color of this copper, honestly. The technique with the lever, with the blue glass, make it look like a little stream of water. That's been used plenty of times before, but I think it works on this pretty well. I spent last night adding a couple more palm trees dotted around, even one over by our lighthouse. But I also kind of went around deciding what each house should be. Like, this one will be a fisherman hut. This one might be like a library. For some reason, this building seemed like a good hotel. We might put a market stall or 2 over in this corner here. And this yellow one here is going to be a map maker guild. I'm actually really inspired to work on this one first. I think a new tradition in this world is that every year I'm going to rebuild this map room somewhere else and update the map for each year in this world, which will be really cool, but also will take a ton of maps. So having a build like this is going to be super useful for storing a bunch of cartographer villagers. Let's get started with this build. First thing I want to do is throw a little mini map out here in front for like tourists and stuff like that. I want to put a darker floor in here. I'm thinking I'm going to use dark oak. I have no idea what this pattern that I'm trying to make right now though is. I think it actually turned out kind of decent. I'm not mad with this at all. I want to have maps hung all over the different walls, so I'm flying around filling out these like trial maps and monument maps and stuff like that. I left this one half complete. I think that's actually pretty cool. Next, I threw in the counter, a plant, some bookshelves, stuff like that. And aside from smaller maps like that, I would also like to have a larger, like really zoomed out map of the entire island. And we can do that by throwing a map and a cartography table. Hopefully this doesn't take too long. I did not expect one single map to take me a half an hour. And if you're wondering how big this map is, that little red speck is literally this entire city. I think this is going to be something that I do later, a lot later, on my own free time. And now that the villagers are in, this build is looking great. I really like this interior. Once this map is in, it'll be very cool, but of course I'm not working on that right now. And these guys can trade us plenty of maps. I also have a mod on that gives all the villagers names now, so we got Keith, Rosa, and Ricky. I think this is a great new addition to our town, though. It probably doesn't surprise you, but for this fisherman house, I would like to have a lot of fishing type decorations, a lot of fish, which feels like a good excuse to finally get a nice fishing rod in this world. However, somebody ran out of rockets and now has to use a horse back to their base. I'm at the old XP farm right now, trying to get enough XP to enchant my fishing rod. I'm not positive what the best enchants are. Let's see how this goes. We can enchant the book with Lure 2. We'll try that. I mean, I guess that's alright. For our fishing rod, we're getting on Breaking 3, and ooh, that's literally every single enchantment right there. That is actually so nice. Now we can make use of our docks and catch a bunch of fish. This is so much faster than a normal fishing rod. It was definitely worth the time. And fishing in Minecraft's pretty fun. Let's get started with this build. First thing I want to do is we can throw some barrels out front. Then right next to the house like this, we're going to have 2 rows of campfires, put fish on all of them, and then extinguish them to have these permanent fish on display. On the inside, we're going to go nice and simple with birch wood, which will pretty quickly lead upstairs. Along this back wall here, we're going to have a setup to smelt our fish. For a roof on this place, I'm going to try copper, I guess. A cool detail I did work on is this banner right here, this little fishing rod banner. I'm not not quite sure exactly where I'm gonna put it. Maybe like hanging off the side like that. I think we'll just throw it there for right now. I'm starting the process of transporting the villagers in. This is how the interior turned out so far. I think it's pretty cool. Hold on, this guy's way too far to the side. Here it is. We've got a couple of fishermen villagers now, which will actually smelt our fish for us. Pretty cool. And this is just gonna act as a place for me to store all the stuff I get when I fish, which will certainly be nice to have. Remember when I said this building was gonna be like a library? Well, I changed my mind. I think instead I want to make this a bank, which might seem weird, but I have a good explanation, I promise. The most plentiful resource we have in this world is iron. We have so much. So I think having some villagers in there to convert our iron into emeralds would be the perfect use of that space. And also a bank is something I've never even tried building before. This build is gonna be pretty large. It's gonna make use of a couple of the buildings here. Firstly, I want to put in a vault on this side over here. Something like this. We're also gonna put a door in here so I can still get in. The floor is gonna be like a checkered pattern like this. I'm working on a little interior for the vault right now. Now with this vault built, we have a place to store all my extra diamonds in the world and also all of our iron, or at least enough iron to trade with the villagers with. For the roof, we'll go nice and simple with some sandstone. Let's set up some desks here with shelves and bookshelves, something sort of like that. A little bit of a glass wall too. Then I'll do pretty much the same thing right over here. This is gonna be like a reception desk, sort of. I would also like to put some plants. I think like that probably. It's a little weird looking with the green stem, but it's not too bad. And now we have a rail set all the way up, going all the way, winding through these buildings up to our villager breeder. What the heck is this? What is going on? Why are there so many in this house? Clearly they weren't able to get to them, but what? For some reason the villager breeder isn't working right now, so I'm opting to transport them from the faraway villager breeder. I only managed to get 3 villagers. For some reason the world has just stopped producing them, which is kind of annoying. We'll worry about that later though. We've got these 2 toolsmiths with our great sources of iron and a weaponsmith over here. I'll probably get some of the armorer ones because they also buy iron. But we now have a decent, at least a decent source of emeralds, which is nice. In order to get another sign checked off the list, we should probably work on this one around the corner, a market stall. This is a nice little tucked away place for it to be. What should it be made out of though? I know what it should be made out of. I'm saying it like that because it's going to be a little annoying to get probably. Hopefully though we can just dive down in here, grab just the right amount of it and get out of here before they shoot me. So far, I haven't gotten mining fatigue, which is nice. I'm a little low, though. I'm going to leave. I'm probably just going to use a real simple design, one that I've sort of used before. Something like this big, maybe. And then we'll invert between prismarine and quartz, just like this. Yeah, look at that. Nice and simple. We do need to sell something in here, though. I think we're going to make this a candle stand. Yeah, this turned out really well. Little details like these really add up and eventually bring life to the whole area. There's a few final details I want to add to the upper area of the city. For example, in this little opening here, I think I'm going to put a little vineyard type thing with some sweet berries. Nice and simple, but it helps fill in an open area. I think we could even set one up on this other side too, but first let's put a retaining wall here. There we go. Our second field is in place. When you come down this road, we have this pathway here, which kind of just goes into a cliff. We should probably do something about that. I'm going to build a quick little lookout area with like a telescope or something. I remember seeing a telescope design online a long time ago. I'm going to try to recreate it from memory. It was something like this, and then you take a piston. Hold on. You take a piston and push it like that. There we go. Yeah, I mean, we obviously can't look through it, but I think it does the trick. Looks like a telescope, kinda. This town is not done, not even close. I mean, look at the docks. They're totally undetailed. But that doesn't mean I'm not proud of what we've accomplished so far. This has been one of my favorite projects ever. And as you can tell, I've just been super motivated to keep working on it. However, I do gotta post this video someday. So far, we've created this really nice fountain, all these palm trees surrounding this really cool town, these 2 little food stalls with villagers and zombie villagers that I need to cure, I guess. This nice little fisherman hut where I can store all the fish I've collected and even trade them away with villagers. We have the masonry, probably the most useful shop with all these different building supplies we can buy. This bank where we can trade for unlimited emeralds, this candle stand, and this map room. And oh yeah, we made an entire cliff face that still needs finished. And I think all in all, we were able to recreate a little piece of what these Italian cities were really like. And that's super cool to me. If you want to catch the next episode of the ISLANDCRAFT series, make sure you subscribe. And I guess all there's left to say is to be continued.